Here we go. Welcome back to the channel. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe button. Tell a friend, tell a friend. They got him too. You know, they got him too. But let's get back to BRICC Baby. BRICC Baby was heading towards 40 years old. And he still wants to be affiliated with gangs. Imagine that.
None of that. So essentially what Zaire was trying to do was bring the Los Angeles way to Georgia, where he could have people under him and serving anything he wanted. So in order to do this, he hit the streets hard and recruited new members, guys who were under him and who would do anything he said. And in the process, believe it or not, they took over some serious hoods. And this is how Zaire truly made his name in Atlanta.
So BRICC Baby, everyone knows about BRICC Baby. We know his story. He became most famous ever since he started doing those no jumper interviews. It got to the point where BRICC Baby started getting out of control. He started bringing firearms to work as a convicted felon. Unbelievable if you think about it. BRICC Baby.
His Four Seasons apartments, the West End, and a Southside hood known as Shady Park. Well, in the process of expanding the set, Zaire unfortunately brought some havoc to the streets. In typical LA fashion, he began robbing and extorting rappers, a trend that Atlanta had never seen before.
No, that's somebody I robbed that was Gucci's best friend.
This is how he becomes known for robbing in Atlanta.
So this is the story of BRICC Baby part 2. Go check out part 1. You know, check out part 1, but this is part 2. There's a good chance right now BRICC Baby, they say he might not get out until he's almost 60 years old. Imagine that. On 6-0. Crazy though, if you think about it.
Somebody that you'd rather have on your side than against you. So he's basically extorting people for friendships, but on the flip side, he's also pretty intelligent. After befriending a local rolling 60 by the name of Pee Wee Longway, he ends up running his bag up like never before. If you're unfamiliar, Pee Wee was a very well-known hustler in the streets of Atlanta, known for running up millions. And because of this, he had...
Don't forget, Pee Wee Longway, he kept on getting back to the trap, and they got him right now. Imagine that. They said Pee Wee, he was running up millions of dollars with no-hit songs. Imagine that. Pee Wee say, you know, it's time to get back to the trapping. But let's focus on BRICC Baby. Let's focus on BRICC Baby right now, though.
To the up-and-coming and major rappers in Atlanta.
I met everybody through Pee Wee Longway. That's my brother. That's like my brother-in-law.
As they were constantly in studios and surrounded by rappers, they decided to join together and to start a music label. This would be known as Money, Piles, and Ammo, also known as MPA.
Okay, so you guys start rolling together and you guys start MPA together.
We around it so much. Let's pay for some studio time, shoot a couple videos. Let's just see where this goes.
Time to get back to the
Unfortunately,
trapping.
they had no idea how to properly run a business, but aside from that, Zaire had a special ear for talent. In fact, he discovered Young Thug in 2008 and actually started managing his career early on. Without having him signed to any sort of paperwork, Zaire had him in the studio and was also introducing him to some bigger names. In fact, in 2009, he even brought him to LA to try to get him in the studio with Nipsey Hussle.
I started showing him the game with what's going on the West Coast too.
Right.
You know, I took him in front of Nip in like 2009 and told him to work with him. And
So that's what's going on with BRICC Baby. Since 2009. Basically, it said BRICC Baby, he's been in the streets since he was basically a teenager. So throughout his teenagers, throughout his 20s, now he's in his 30s. Don't forget, they say he might not get out until he's in his 60s. But I have to admit, BRICC Baby, he wasn't a regular gang member. He was so proud. Imagine that. Imagine being a proud gang member. Crazy if you think about it, though.
Nip was like iffy. Thug was slime, man. He was real, like, you know what I'm saying? He was out here robbing, doing all, you know,
Real.
regular hood. So
The point is that he was helping out Atlanta artists and he had a really good ear for talent. So not only does he have a potentially major label at his hands, but he's also doing pretty well financially. In fact, in 2009, he copped a nice condo in Sandy Springs, a fly whip, and you know, he was just doing his thing.
Okay.
Once again, things are truly looking good for him.
BRICC Baby doing his
this
thing.
is when he's met with some terrible luck. October 22nd, 2009. It's a Thursday night in North Atlanta, and Zaire is headed down Interstate 19, headed towards
BRICC
downtown.
Baby.
As he's cruising down, a Georgia State Patrol gets behind him and runs his tags.
Okay.
Unfortunately, he never registered the car, so the officer hits the cherries.
Okay.
Ah, shit, here we go again.
Zaire knows that he's riding dirty as a convicted felon, so he smashes on the pedal. Now he's on a high-speed chase, cutting in and out of traffic in Buckhead, and then...
So that's how Brick Baby was living his life. I said he wasn't a normal person. He was a proud gang member. Imagine trying to pull over a gang member and expect them to stop. You can't do that. You got to keep on going if you're a real gang member.
Down, a Georgia State Patrol gets
Brick
behind
Baby.
him and runs his tags. Unfortunately, he never registered the
Brick
car, so
Baby.
the officer hits the cherries.
Ah, shit, here we go again.
Zaire knows that he's riding dirty as a convicted felon, so he smashes on the pedal. Now he's on a high-speed chase, cutting in and out of traffic in Buckhead, and then he smashes into a pole. Just like that, the officers are able to pull him out of the car, and they find weapons inside. This time, it's no joke, as he's facing 4 separate felonies. So already being a convicted felon, he's looking at up to 12 years in prison. But somehow, once again, Zaire is able to completely avoid prison and only get a few months in jail.
Don't forget the reason why Brick Baby, why he is right now, why he locked up right now. He was a felon, walking around with firearms. He got caught with firearms. I said he took a firearm to work with him. He took it to No Jumper and he showed it to everybody. He was hanging out with Loose Cannon. I don't know if he was scared of Loose Cannon, but either way, they got Loose Cannon too. Imagine that. Imagine being a felon and bringing a firearm to work with you and showing everybody, look what I got on 6-0.
Convicted felon and documented Rolling 60s Crip only gets a few months in jail for 4 separate felonies. That makes no sense in my mind. Well, once again, he gets off easy and he's right back on the streets in early 2010. But not for long. On July 28th, 2010, he would have another high-speed chase while on probation.
He's a bad
and
man.
Again, he's caught with a weapon and facing 10 years in prison. But mysteriously, the judge lets him off easy and he only does 18 months. Now, before you call him a snitch or an informant, do understand that this is Fulton County, which is a complete joke. Well, regardless, it's now 2012 and the MPA boss returns to the streets. While he was away, Pee Wee Longway was able to discover young rappers Lil...
As you can see, Brick Baby, he's no stranger to getting locked up. You would think after a while, he would say, you know what, enough is enough. I'm tired of getting locked up. But no. As I said, Brick Baby, he wasn't a regular gang member. He was a happy, proud gang member.
Rich Homie Quan and a group called the Migos.
Rich Homie Quan before he came out. I'm hearing 21 Savage before he came out.
So as soon as Zaire got out of prison, he was connected with them and actually started helping their careers. Not only did he pay for their studio time and connect them with rappers, but he also provided them with protection. Dirk being an outsider from Chicago and the Migos being suburban wannabes, they both could use some protection. But most importantly, the biggest thing he provided was protection whenever the rappers went.
Imagine that. The Migos, suburban wannabes, imagine that. We see the Migos from the suburbs, but they want to portray to be gangsters, imagine that. I wonder why everybody want to be a gangster, imagine that. Unbelievable. Think about it, though. I wonder why, though.
LA. In fact, he even brought Future to LA for the very first time.
Future?
You know what I'm saying? I've been that person, like, bringing them out here. Like, I had Future. I turned LA on the Future. I was listening to the Dirty Sprite 1. You know, I brought them out here to do a song with Nip.
Essentially, he was every rapper's connection whenever they'd go to LA. He was the first and only call. Remember this, because it will be very important.
Brick Baby.
As we know, everyone around him and Pee Wee was getting rich and famous during this period. And after a while, they got kind of tired of being the guys in the background. They wanted to try rapping for themselves. So Zaire would become MPA Shitro or MPA Brick Baby, and Pee Wee was still Pee Wee Longway. Early on, things were looking bright for the duo as they had the help of Dirk, Future, Young Thug, Gucci Mane, and more.
Don't forget Pee Wee Longway. He said he had that Amigo plug. Imagine that. Time to get back to the trapping. Pee Wee couldn't stop trapping. Brick Baby couldn't stop playing with firearms. Now they both locked up. I mean, they said Pee Wee, he was making millions. All that trapping he was doing. And Brick Baby,
because of everything they had done for them, if they ever needed a feature, it was done right away. But then, unfortunately, as things are going up for Brick Baby, he catches another felon in possession charge in Los Angeles.
Not again.
And this time he's sentenced to 3 years in prison.
That long?
As he's sitting in a lonely prison cell, everyone around him is getting rich and famous. Young Thug signs with Birdman and blows up, Future blows up, Lil Durk blows up, Rich Homie Quan blows up, Pee Wee Longway blows up. Well, Kind of, but you get the point.
Pee Wee Longway in jail. Young Thug in jail. Was in jail. Rich Homie Quan no longer here. Who else? Crazy if you think about it, though. They're all gone. Future's the only one that's out. That's doing good.
And don't forget that the Migos get a feature with Drake, and they're out of here as well. So literally everyone who was with him in Atlanta completely blow up and get nationally famous. All while Zaire Brick Baby is sitting in a California prison with no fame or nothing. Damn, that would shatter any man's ego. Don't act like it wouldn't. But on the flip side, because they're all rich and famous now, he assumes that once he gets out, they'll definitely put him on.
Break bread.
So 3 long years go by and Brick Baby is finally released.
Free.
It's 2015 and Brick Baby is finally home expecting a warm welcome. But as soon as he touches down, a harsh reality kicks in. These guys are not your real friends. Aside from Thug, Pee Wee, and Dirk, his friends were not there to help him out and pretty much wanted nothing to do with him.
You told me earlier that you've been cut off. People cut you off or something of that sort.
My industry friends that I thought was my friends now. Free YSL, Gunna, Slime. Y'all did, you know what I'm saying? You already know, we ain't even got to talk long way.
Are we speaking
Dirk.
like
After everything he did for some of his friends in the industry, he really took it hard.
Don't forget about what Brick Baby said about Lil Durk and Lil Pod. Brick Baby, he's been connected with everybody. Unfortunately, everybody he's connected for the most part are criminals. Imagine that. So it's no surprise why he is where he is right now. But would he really get out when he's in 60s? He might. On 6-0. It's crazy, though.
Was broke, we could go through DMs, or when you was up and coming, we could do that. I just feel like they wanted to be around me when they was broke because they didn't have nothing. So now you a millionaire now, you don't want that type of pressure around. But you think I'm going to turn that energy on you? You my boy. I love you. I wouldn't give a fuck if you had $1 or $1 billion. I'm going to treat you the same way.
Brick Baby was now a peon or an afterthought to many people he helped out, and this truly hurt his ego.
Brick Baby.
Now, instead of being the guy who helps out rappers and protects them, he reverts to being the guy who wants to rob them. Don't come to LA. Unless your name is Dirk, Thug, or Pee Wee, you better tuck your tail.
Check in.
So as the streets tell it, Brick Baby becomes the biggest chain collector in LA. Basically, he had his young Rolling 60s members doing serious homework.
Imagine that. That's so disrespectful. They said Brick Baby, he was down and out financially. He needed money. He started going above and beyond to get it. I mean, I guess you have to do what you gotta do to survive, though, I guess, if you think about it.
Streets. This included having them sit at the airport for rappers to come to town and then following their cars back to their hotel.
Where
and
big
they'd
you
relay
at?
all of this information back to Brick, and he'd do with it what he pleased.
Okay.
So basically, without them knowing, rappers were being tracked by Brick Baby the second they stepped foot in LA. Then he and the Rolling 60s would wait for the perfect opportunity to strike, get up on him and give me everything you got. So just like that, he went from being known as the helpful guy in the industry to the boogeyman.
Whoa.
And because of this reputation, he would be featured on YG's notorious song, Don't Come to LA.
Don't come to LA.
Come to LA, raffles for their jewelry.
Don't come to LA.
Bro, LA is so corny, bro. But anyways, as the YG feature would help his recognition, he was still hurting financially. How I know this? Well, he was now 29 years old and still taking penitentiary chances. And that takes us to September 21st, 2017. It's an early Thursday afternoon on the west side of LA, and Brick and 2 Rolling 60s members are masking up for a lick.
Brick got his mind made up.
They aim to hit a high-end jewelry store in the wealthy Marina del Rey. So at 1 p.m., they arrive in front of the store in a gray Range Rover SUV.
Oh, he living
then
good.
They quickly hop out of the car and run inside the store with bags. Once they're able to secure a few expensive items, they run out of the store and hop back in.
Is that the truth? Brick Baby really a bad man like that? Imagine that. Is Brick Baby say, you know what, I gotta do whatever to survive? Nothing's off limits? I don't know. Either way, they say he's a bad man. If he really did it, he's a bad man.
Brick then quickly speeds away, not realizing that LAPD are already behind him. After bending a few blocks, he hears the sirens and knows they're in trouble. So he instantly punches the gas and busts a left down a residential road. This is when he finally realizes that it's a dead-end street, so now he has no choice but to stop the car and run inside a nearby apartment.
Okay.
While he barricades himself in the lobby, police completely surround the area. And from here, a 6-hour standoff begins. BRICC Baby in the 60s versus LAPD.
BRICC Baby's a bad man.
Finally, at 7:30 p.m., BRICC Baby surrenders.
Misunderstanding tonight, or was it justified? A local rapper arrested after a tense standoff with officers in Marina del Rey, but his family says police got the wrong guy.
Wrong guy.
NBC4's Beverly White just spoke with his family and police. Beverly.
That's right, Chuck. LAPD says it started with a 20-minute pursuit this afternoon of a man traveling in a silver Range Rover.
Bad
and
man.
it ended when he ducked into this apartment building in the 13,900 block of Panay Way.
Okay.
That music
Okay.
video from YouTube is of local rap artist BRICC Baby.
BRICC Baby.
29-year-old now in LAPD custody
Bad man.
after a standoff in Marina del Rey.
Okay.
Identified by his mother, who declined to give her name.
The already 3-time felon is facing 2 more of them things.
more
Because
of
of his
them
history and the severity of the charges, he's facing up to 15 years in prison.
Okay.
Definitely nothing to scoff at. Of course, his family doesn't want to see him go away for a long time. And because of this, they go on the news and blame everything on his co-defendant. His mom goes on the news and says, "My son didn't rob anyone. In fact, he doesn't even own a gun."
Imagine
and get
that.
ready for this one. His friend is actually the one who robbed the store, and BRICC only drove him away because of adrenaline. So she evidently threw his co-defendant under the bus. And I don't know, is this snitching? It's his mom, but
Uh-oh.
yeah, it's snitching, right? Well, long story short, BRICC is let off easy again as he's sentenced to 4 years in prison. And even though this isn't that much time, with 4 felonies on his record, what is he going to do for the rest of his life? Obviously, this is a harsh reality for a guy in his 30s.
BRICC Baby.
But sadly, during his prison stay, things get even worse.
The music world is mourning Grammy-nominated rapper Nipsey Hussle, who was killed in a shooting in Los
So that's what's going on, BRICC Baby, right there. That's what's going on, BRICC Baby. They say he never learned anything. They say he didn't learn anything at all. Only thing he kept on learning was never getting out of a gang. So he is where he is right now. Matter of fact, when you get a chance, check out part 3 of this video. BRICC Baby. I'm saying he's not getting out till he's 60s, in his 60s on 6-0.